What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk presents Two Cousins Talking Batman. Me, Lawrence, and my cousin Chris. Every Saturday morning, get your bowl of cereal, go into Batman the Animated Series. Check out the playlist we have. We have a lot of videos in that playlist, Chris, of all these
We have a
episodes.
lot. We've been going at this. This is what our fifth
I don't even know.
episode because
Feel like it's more.
So we've done. We did 1 2-parter. We did Robin's Reckoning, which was 2 parts. We did
Heart of Ice.
Almost Got Him.
Almost Heart of Ice. That's 4.
4. So did we do one more?
We also did a couple that YouTube flagged that got erased, unfortunately. They're haters, man. They're haters. But
we're not trying to plagiarize. We just want to share our love.
You know, it's not even you, brothers. They're the ones that would say this is flagged, and we're like, we're giving you guys free advertisement, man.
I know.
What's happening?
It's a 30-year-old property that changed our lives and we love so much. At least let us talk about it.
Let's talk, and because we wanted to play the episode while we gave commentary. They didn't want that. Maybe it's the music or whatever. So we have this wonderful montage that plays as we talk. So that's just as good. Chris, what do we have today?
So today we have two cousins talking Two-Face. This is a 2-parter and the first double-digit episode, the 10th episode of the series.
Did you just hit all the twos just now?
All the twos. I'm giving you all the twos I can.
Yes.
Original air date was September 25th, 1992.
Oh my God.
Directed by Kevin Altieri, story by Alan Burnett, teleplay by Randy Rogel, and music by Shirley Walker. And it's actually the first production 2-parter.
Oh wow, really?
A lot of twos.
Dude, we'll get into it, but in my imagination, this to me, I love Heart of Ice. I get why that's the coveted. This is way more than Heart of Ice.
So this is like you watch this and then you watch The Dark Knight and you're like,
yeah.
They just took this episode and intertwined it into the movie.
But like they didn't even hit. Okay. Heart of Ice, I understand in 1992 why that was the one. But now in 2022, as we talk about 2022, Chris.
I see what you did there.
Oh boy. But now as we're in 2022, where mental health and mental illness has become normalized in such that we have the support to deal with it. Like no one has to suffer in silence when it comes to mental health. And I felt like if this came out now, this would have been the epic, iconic episode from the series that handled mental health and multiple personality disorder, whatever you want to call what's going on with Harvey. Nowadays climate, this would have been like, oh my gosh, you guys made one of the most riveting cartoons ever. Think about it.
Yeah, and you know what? We talk about when we watch these episodes as kids and we watch them as adults, how the quality of this content is so good that you appreciate it as a kid, but you watch it as an adult. I mean, as a kid, you're not going to realize the mental health aspect of this. You just think, oh, he's crazy, and that's it.
I don't think adults did back in 1992 for real. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of information. They would just go, he's crazy or something's wrong with him. But it's like, this guy literally has been suffering from a mental illness. Probably since he was a child and has all right. And now he puts it to the side for his career.
Right.
Like, this hits a lot of love.
And you know what the thing is? He's actively seeking help during this episode. And then it's like, it's episode of banger.
And I hate to compare it to Heart of Ice, but like when you think of Heart of Ice and what it was, because Mr. Freeze, like we said, was kind of a clowny character until that episode. But he's still like in the of a lab doing stuff he shouldn't do, and the bad guy that hurt him and possibly killed his wife is kind of mustache twirl. This episode is way more sophisticated.
Oh, absolutely.
This is
We see a man's descent into madness and into like giving into his other half, right?
dude,
It's I'm sure there's
this
some like deep analogy I
this
can
would have
make,
been
but
the
it's
episode. This would have been the episode that I'll go, oh, that's where they won the Emmy. Obviously, is
Yep.
this one, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And it's funny you say that because I thought for sure when I was doing my research that this episode won some awards. I couldn't find any awards for this episode.
No, because mental illness and mental health wasn't a thing like that back then. So this didn't hit people the way it's hitting us now. Like I
Right.
said, this is aged better than it did when it came out. Like now it's like, oh my God, Harvey.
Ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time, man. Let's
No,
jump into this. Let's
All right,
see
let me
where we
let
at.
me give a brief synopsis and let's just get into it.
Yeah.
On the election trail, Harvey Dent gradually loses control of his repressed, evil alternative personality until gangster Rupert Thorne inadvertently releases it.
Oh, big bad Harvey. Oh, that's why you put Big Bad Chris. Now I was like, why?
Yes.
I was like, big Bad Toy Store. Maybe he bought some. I'm a little slow today. So
Another thing. So Kevin Conroy was the first one to be in Batman and change his voice.
Mm-hmm.
The voice actor, now his name escapes me. I had it open. I'll come back to it. But the voice actor, Richard Mole, is the guy who does the voice for Two-Face. He changes his face. He changes his voice. So he has this like the same, just like Bruce Wayne and Batman. He has this like super friendly, hey, how you guys doing voice? And then it's Two-Face, gravelly and like.
Dude, I saw later in the episode when Bruce really gets confronted by Harvey's darker side, how the parallel between these characters, similar they are as far as the dual personas, I guess, except that Bruce has found a way to master his trauma. They all need mental health support. Bruce,
Absolutely.
but Bruce found a way to take that trauma and use it. Whereas Harvey, I guess, is growing up at the time he grew up, was told to hide this,
Repress it,
and it just
repress it. Let's get going.
Let's get going.
Let's do it.
And what's really good about this is that we've seen Harvey in this season prior to this episode.
Yes. So
Harvey.
we know Harvey.
Yes.
We know Harvey.
The episodes with Poison Ivy, when he was in love with her, we saw Harvey be a victim and needed to be saved from a villain.
Yes.
That
is
masterful.
smart. That's smart. Genius.
Dude.
Oh, man. All right. So we open up with our title card. It's a silhouette of a guy flipping a coin. We have a dream sequence.
So freaking scary, man.
Yep.
And
he's so like vulnerable. He's not weak as Harvey, but he's very vulnerable as Harvey.
He's tormented.
Yeah.
He's straight up tormented. And the thing he's been trying to repress is busting out of the seams here.
Exactly.
And I just love how they try.
Yeah. So we see him facing this figure, flipping the coin, and then we see this. So this is his other personality. So I guess this is in his dream, his other personality trying to break out. And he wakes up in that cold sweat.
He sweats so much in this. Sweat is used so well.
Does. He's like Patrick Ewing. Listen.
I can't. So he gets word that like there's the police. What do they call that? They're in position.
Yeah. So once again, we see how many abandoned buildings are in Gotham. Why are these guys always running to abandoned buildings?
And they're gonna like have a shootout with the cops. Harvey shows up, almost gets shot himself. I love this, Chris. I love this so much because we see Batman take them out from the police's perspective from outside the building.
Yes, and Gordon makes like a crack comment, like looks like they have a bat infestation or something.
And it works. And it's terrifying.
It works.
That was my thing. Was why are these guys? You know, Batman's probably going to come. You have a missile launcher. You're not discreet. And I was like, when does start becoming worried about him
Yeah.
showing up. It felt like they were surprised he'd come. And I'm like, he's at least 10 years in at this point.
I mean, and maybe you feel like, the city's so big, the chances of Batman hitting you are 1 in 5, and I'll take my chances. 1 in 10.
Gordon's outside. Gordon. I don't know. These guys, maybe they're not from Gotham. Yes, they are,
Maybe.
because they're Super Thorns guys. Maybe
Yeah, he
they're
said
going.
Thor will eat you up and spit you out for breakfast later. He says that.
Maybe they're hired
Yeah.
out. Maybe they're from
Maybe.
Bloodhaven or something.
They just don't know. But we just see the guys getting yoked up and getting smacked up.
Yo, due
And then
process.
they come running out. They're like, instead of facing Batman, like, you know what? Jail doesn't sound so bad.
Take me to jail. What would have been really cool, because this was in the Dark Knight. Oh, first, pause there.
Yeah.
What's amazing about this series, Chris, is have these pause shots that look absolutely beautiful. And this lasted for 1 second. This is a 1 second throwaway shot.
Every cell is a wallpaper.
It really is.
Every shot, you can make a wallpaper on your phone or on your computer. It can be a wallpaper. Like, look at this.
Amazing.
Every shot. What I love about this series, and like going back and visiting these episodes, is like, it's just so iconic. And you can see, because this happened in 92, you can see how, I know we've said this before, but how it's affected the content going forward, and
Absolutely.
where everyone grabs this stuff from. And it's like,
look, these guys were fans, man. And I love Tim Burton did. He changed the game for Batman, but he wasn't necessarily like bringing the comics to life.
right.
They were like, oh, they're going through like Batman Year One. They see a Frank Miller thing. They're like, let's bring that to life. And you see it, like you said, in every cell, they're bringing the comic to life. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
All right.
So we see that as an iconic shot. Then he does his monologue, his grandstand, saying how, doing the same thing he did. Do the same thing he did in Dark Knight. That what he's doing there is what Harvey Dent did in the trial. Remember when the guy tried to kill him with a gun? He took the gun and was like, "I'm not done asking you questions," and everyone clapped.
And everyone clapped. What's crazy? You're right. Even the Dark Knight didn't do the comic book through acid in his face necessarily. Right? It was part of the explosion. And here he gets. It was this.
It's this. Yes, it is this. So
wow.
But something's about to happen. So now this guy kicks mud on his expensive suit, and then
bad Harvey.
Big bad Harv. And then he loses it. And he's like, "I'll tear you apart." He's yoking him up. And he has to be physically
sweating.
Sweating.
Like there's a physical transformation. There's a physical torment that happens along with the mental. Chris, what's wild about this is that, like, coming for me, Batman was Adam West Batman. As a kid, came home, watched that until the Burton movies. So I didn't really know Two-Face until this series. I collected the comic books, but my parents never order. I never finished the whole storyline as a kid. Right. I was just having random comics. And this was my introduction into Two-Face. Like, prior to this, I didn't really know who Two-Face was. And I think that might be the case for a lot of people.
No, it was the case for me too. I mean, for a lot of these guys, and I think we shared a lot of the same. Obviously, we shared a lot of the same upbringing with family, but it was the same thing to me. Like, the comics was more of a collectible. I collected comics. I read a little bit, but not really delve into the stories until I got older. And really, a lot of my core Batman lore is based around this series. And it's a good thing this series is so faithful to a lot of the content material. And the stuff that isn't canon, it ends up becoming canon. It becomes canon. Yeah. So
man.
So here's where they make Two-Face so they show Rupert Thorne and how, they're trying to go after Thorne, they can't touch Thorne. But Actually, I'll save my point. We'll talk about Rupert Thorne because
Why isn't he
we talk about
Falcone?
what I'm saying.
Why isn't he Falcone? I wonder if there's a reason why
No,
they didn't touch that shit.
they do show Falcone shows up in this series. They just happen to have
Does he?
Rupert. Yeah, oh yeah, he shows up later.
Ah, man,
But what
okay.
I like about there's Thorne and who's the other? Who's the other? Was it Falcone?
It's Roland
Who's the other?
Daggett.
Roland
Isn't
Daggett.
Daggett?
But this is what you always talk about. These are the bad guys that Batman needs to be fighting. This is the
Yes.
world. This is the underworld of Gotham that I find so captivating.
Yeah.
Because if I'm Batman and I'm an unpowered guy, I want to fight. I'm going to go after these mob guys who Superman and all Green Lantern, all these guys are going to ignore because they're fighting big bads. But these guys are just as bad, just different.
And you
So,
can't just lock up Rupert Thorne. Like
right,
his trail is covered so well. He has fall guys everywhere. You can't just. He's not a guy you just go in and beat up. It's like I'll be out. I'll be out in 24 hours. You have nothing on me.
right.
I love that for Gotham.
Yeah, I love it. It's great, and I love that they did the mob guy. It's just so cool. It makes for great villains. They have depth. They have. I just love it. I just love it. So Rupert Thorne is pissed off because Harvey Dent is taking down his guys, and
And
then now he fights. Go ahead.
what's weird? Okay, wait, hold on, right here. Pause this. The symbolism of blind justice, sweating.
Yup,
The ice
and
sculpture looks like
divided.
it's and the there is so much. It's beautiful, but Bruce Wayne is interesting here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that this episode of Batman only shows up in the very beginning and at the very end. But
Yeah,
most of this episode is about Bruce Wayne, and really it's about Harvey Dent. And he's a tragic figure. We see he's on top of the world right now. He's about to propose to
right.
his girl. He like everything's going good for him
Everything
until it
is
doesn't.
going great, but he won't deal with what's been going on inside of him. And what's interesting about Bruce Wayne is like we don't see this Bruce so much because it's not Bruce in the cave with Alfred or Dick. It's his public persona, Bruce, who is very much has a real friendship with Harvey. It's
I
weird.
think that's a good point because a lot of times we see him. They always show him as not caring about other events, but he genuinely cares about Harvey. And here he is genuinely here for Harvey. This is probably genuine Bruce Wayne as opposed to
Right.
public persona Bruce Wayne.
But the voice is the public persona version. So it's so interesting that as Bruce Wayne is mostly a cover, except when it comes to him.
Right.
And he keeps up that the higher the change in voice Bruce Wayne, but he genuinely cares for Harvey. It's here's where it's like his identity lie where I'm like, oh, you do enjoy being Bruce Wayne a bit. It's not a thing you do. You do. There are aspects to this persona you do enjoy, like your friendship with Harvey.
Right.
Um, who you probably enjoy that is not connected to the Bruce in the cave. That you do at least have small percentage of a life as Bruce. And this Bruce, to me, he's pretty respected by Gordon. He's respected by Den. He's not the Bruce Wayne we saw in the movies. That's kind of like
No,
lazy.
he's still a pillar of the community here, and the
But
whole
then
series.
we still had that episode where that guy was father would be ashamed of you. So he's
Oh, the
those
man!
two.
I think that guy was just a jerk. I think he was
Fair,
just a jerk.
fair, fair.
Yeah, because everyone. You're right. Everyone does respect him here.
Yeah.
So here's Harvey giving his speech about I forgot what he says about saving Gotham, cleaning up Gotham, whatever. And
Yeah,
then
you know.
Bruce is actually happy.
He's happy.
Yep.
And then he uh-oh.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
They're
Yeah.
out. And then we see the change.
And then it goes red behind him. Like he sees red.
Yep.
And like, you can't be doing this, man. There's no
No,
cell phones here.
You can't be
It
yoking
throws
up
them
your workers and throwing them into ice sculptures and stuff.
and broke the blind justice. And they ain't about to
Yep.
throw a punch at Bruce. And then there's,
Message.
Listen.
And then he snaps back. And then Bruce comes up and says, "I'm like, you gotta take it easy." She's so devious. I forgot her. What's her name? I forgot her name. But
I
she
forgot
shows
her
up.
name.
But she actually, and she can't be trusted. This chick.
No.
When they introduce Bane, she actually sides with Bane, like seduces Bane to take over Rupert Thorne.
She's like that 1940s vixen that you see in those detective movies that turns out being bad at the end. Like that she was a damsel the whole time and then she takes the gun out the purse. I love that. And yeah, man, she knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing. Man.
It's funny how they draw like Harvey's girl so innocent looking and the other chick so devious looking.
Now, the worst therapist in the entire world award goes to whoever this is. And I imagine this isn't their first session because, like, you're about to unlock something. Like, have a conversation with them first. Like, see what you might be unlocking. Don't just unlock them. Uh-oh, Chris, you froze a bit. There you are.
Good now?
Yeah.
So what I was saying was she knows Harv. This shot, another wallpaper worthy shot,
dude. It's a millisecond. It was so hard for me to screen grab this, Chris, because it lasted. It's like a millisecond.
I appreciate the attention to detail because
she knows about Big Bad from this session. He's been seeing her for some time.
She's been seeing him. That's the impression I got because she's like, I want to speak to Big Bad Harv. How would she know to ask for Big Bad Harv if she didn't?
Very true.
Yeah. So that's the impression I got. That he knows, and he's been working on this, and then his face changes.
You got him.
Yep.
And you know what, man? We'll see this later on in the episode. When he eventually becomes Two-Face,
right?
He's nothing like this, and I wish he was. He becomes Two-Face. He becomes this criminal. He becomes this guy, but he's not. He's not physically violent later on when he's Two-Face. He's not
he's not
throwing punches and destroying everybody.
Well, when he's Two-Face, he's the boss. He doesn't have to throw punches anymore.
But I still want it, but that rage. Maybe the rage is because he's repressed. Maybe that's why there's rage here versus when he. Okay,
that might be it. And then we see him snap back.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh no, did I do this? It wasn't you. It was Big Bad Harv."
And she's like, "You need to go to a facility." And he's still like, "No, my campaign. It'll ruin my campaign." So what I love about this, especially as a dude, is how much as men will focus on providing, focus on success, focus on our careers. And sometimes our mental and physical health takes a backseat. And we're 100%. Seeing him do this here. Like he has all the red flags in the world, probably had them for decades. But he's still like, no, if this news gets out, it'll ruin my campaign. And he's like, well, at least let's keep working. He's time, but he needs to go to a facility. He needs
serious help. I mean, he's having full psychotic episodes. A different person comes out,
and he's still like, no, it'll ruin my career. Which I think it seems to a lot of good.
I don't fault him for that though. Look, when at this moment in time, he's on the precipice of having everything he's ever worked for.
Right.
And so put yourself in that position, you're about to score a big movie role. I'm about to close a big deal. And you have something that's about to hold you back. You're going to keep that to yourself. So
absolutely. Yeah. But that's the problem is that, and I can see it with Harvey is they were always on the precipice. I'm about to graduate. I'm about to get my law degree. I'm about to get my master's. I'm about to be assistant DA. I'm about to be DA. Now it's like there's always going to be something. If you're this driven kind of person, the finish line always is extended. You just keep ignoring the fact that you have issues, and if the explosion didn't happen,
it piles up till it explodes.
Dude, without Thorne, he's about to pop off.
That's true. That's true. So that's funny you say that because Two-Face was going to happen no matter what.
No matter what.
Thorne
And
just
if anything,
fast-tracked
Thorne might have saved a lot of people. Like you said, Two-Face, he's the boss. He flips the coin. This
Right.
repressed version of Big Bad Harv would have killed his wife.
Right.
Like there's no control with the version of Two-Face.
That's
When he
actually a
becomes
good.
Two-Face, he flips the coin. Chance. Here he's just tearing up offices and beating people up.
That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. Huh.
Two-Face saved Harvey. Two-Face saved the Harvey who didn't go get treatment.
Right.
It's Big Bad Harv. Two-Face ain't got nothing on Big Bad Harv.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Bro.
So
And there she is.
she
Scheming.
is, and she, yep, finds out Harvey's about to give his acceptance speech.
He's about to propose, set a wedding date.
Set a date. And then he's in love. And then he gets a phone call that changes everything.
Man. How long has he been with her? Because this is the same season he was with Poison Ivy, right?
I mean, Harvey Dent moves fast, brother. That's it.
Hey, man, Harvey. And basically, yeah, he's told, like,
he's
you
like,
need to talk.
He's like, should I talk to you or should I talk to Big Bad Harv? And he's like, oh,
Ooh.
no.
And Rupert Thorne's like, voice, it's so just
so like obnoxious. Like, what's the, I don't know, but he's like, yeah, he comes in like so like, he knows he has him. And it shows in that voice, in the way he says it. And it's just so infuriating.
Big Bad Harv?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good. It looks like Marlon Brando.
Yeah. I don't think that was an accident.
And she's like, what's going on?
Look,
Bruce, this is not a cover. No one's watching Bruce. You're just having fun being Bruce Wayne, which we never see.
So we know Bruce runs through these chicks because when he goes to these parties, he knows all these chicks by name. So you're telling me
was part of his cover because in public, but this isn't even public. They're off to the side. Like he doesn't have to do this.
He's in full Mac mode. He's like, yo,
Bruce Wayne, man.
He's like, I know I'm Batman, but I'm also billionaire Playboy Bruce Wayne. What's good? What you want to do about that?
Oh man.
So there's a scene in Batman Beyond. No, is it Batman Beyond or Justice League where he's talking about? I think it's Batman Beyond. Where he's talking. Yeah, it's Batman Beyond. He's talking to Terry McGinnis, and he was like talking about his past, and he's like, "What'd you do with all the girls that threw themselves at your feet?" He's like, "I stepped over them." He's like, "That was smooth." He's like, "Yeah, I thought so at the time."
Really?
So, yeah, I gotta find it, and I'll show it to you. But he makes an alliteration that like allusion that like. He didn't always do the right thing when it came to women.
Of course not. Look at him. Look at him because he knows that.
To me, it looks like he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. Kick that game, brother. Kick that game.
Oh man. And then he sees something's going on with Harv, and something's going on when you got a trench coat and a hat on.
you know it's bad.
He looks out the window, sees Harvey getting escorted into that car.
Yeah, and he knows something's up.
Bruce suits up so quick.
He's always ready.
Always ready. And he's just jumping freaking trucks. I love it. It's like there's not much action in this episode. We're like, we can have him get on his motorcycle. It's probably hidden somewhere. No, have him jump trucks. We only have so much action. Throws that device on it. And today's cartoons, he would have just got on his motorcycle and followed them. Right. And this one, it's like, no, he has a plan of track. It's like he still has to do the detective thing. And of course, there's always factories. I guess this is his.
There's always, factory. It has to be in a factory because you need something to explode. Foreshadowing.
Oh man, we should do a number of how many explosions. There was an explosion with the standoff with the cops. The missile went in the air and exploded there too.
Yeah. Oh man.
And there he goes.
So Rupert Thorne's reading his stuff, saying, pretty much now you're in my pocket. I got you, unless you just do what I have to do. And then,
and this is the thing. Thorne has nothing on a guy that can come public and say, "Yes, I suffer from this." At this time, it's taboo, so it would ruin his campaign.
Right.
Probably would ruin his campaign today, unfortunately. But it's
Right.
almost like the ball's in your court. Like he doesn't have to go through blackmail, and I wonder if he would have. I don't know
I'm
what
gonna
his
tell you.
choice would have
I'm
been.
gonna tell you this. Even now, it would ruin someone's campaign, and rightfully so. If
Mm.
you have look, if you have a mental health issue, there's no shame in seeking help if you deal with something. But if you have multiple person, this is a very rare extreme case. But
And he's having violent episodes. It's not like
yeah, he's
he
not
has
he's
treatment.
realistically he's not fit for office. We
No.
saw it in the beginning where he snapped and tried to beat up the thug. He's not fit for office because you put in a high every time he's put in a high stress or high like an angry scenario, he changes.
Dude just kicked mud on him, and he was ready to kill him.
He's ready to kill him.
And the media didn't have a field day with that. It's interesting,
They did it.
almost by
Yeah,
choice.
yep.
Like they don't.
Maybe it's like the '60s where they respected their privacy and stuff like that.
It's also Gotham, so he still might be the best they have to offer.
No,
It's
it might
still
be the
Gotham,
least. It might be the least worst thing a Gotham elected official has done is smacked up a bad guy.
only in Gotham, dude.
Yep. Yep.
um,
So we see the change happening now.
Sweat,
Yep. He's
and then
so you see his face here mimics how the Two-Face face is gonna be. Relax on one side and then with the upper eyebrow on the other side, which is kind of cool.
yeah,
So they're all laughing at him and like
dude,
getting on him,
Carrie
and then
moment.
yep.
Love this shot. Like this is so cinematic. They weren't making any cartoon like this. Like this is like
No.
these shots are like a movie.
So here, so I like it. So he goes from you see the profuse sweat, the face all contorted, and then that relaxed, like scary calm before he
Yeah.
starts lacing people. But why does Big Bad Horror all of a sudden can beat everyone up?
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm like, why doesn't that translate to Two-Face? But the more I'm watching this, the more I'm thinking they shouldn't have showed the coin flip in the beginning. The coin flip should not be introduced till later. I feel like the issue with Harvey Dent is that there are two sides. And as long as they're not in sync, he's going to have manic outbursts. But when he becomes Two-Face, and it's like, well, we don't have to war with each other. We'll just flip a coin. We'll
Right.
see who wins. And Harvey and Two-Face both adhere to those rules. We flip a coin, which means he doesn't have the violent episodes, which means he can be a boss in both personas.
So he
But
can still
here,
be, yeah.
yeah, Harvey
That's a good
Dent
point.
is too broken to run anything, and Big Bad Harv is too repressed and violent to control anything. But when those two sides are in sync and they adhere to the flipping the coin rule, we can. I mean, there's a whole. There's a whole story we can do with freaking Two-Face. That'd be really freaking dope if it leans
Yeah.
in. I'm sure the comics have, but like just that idea of Two-Face is the best version. Is the best version that we can get. These two guys.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh.
Eh. All right, so he's trashing everybody, and then
Yeah, he's just smacking everyone up.
Batman
And
comes
then,
and says, "No, don't fight bad guys." I'm like, "You
yeah,
jerk!
yeah.
This is what you do all the
You
time."
know what I like at this point is that Rupert Thorne, with all his power and all his influence, in this moment, nothing can protect him except for Batman.
No. Although those guys have guns, no?
I mean, I guess not. No. I mean, he yoked him up too fast.
He really did. And and he took them all by surprise.
Yeah. So he doesn't revert back. He's still Big Bad Harv. They're still fighting, and now we see Batman and Harvey. Well, I guess it's not Two-Face yet, but these guys, they're fighting together. I love the silhouette shots. Always love the silhouette shots.
So good. And
Rupert,
then
he grabs the file. Go ahead.
no, it's interesting. I was about to say one of the goons. The guy that kicked mud on him is there.
Yes, he is there. Actually,
So it's like they don't stay in jail.
No.
I think he's the one that winds up shooting.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Hold on. He was right here. It's
Press play. It's when he turns back. He's going
yeah,
to
when he
turn
turns back, he's
Batman.
standing. hold on. Was it when he was laughing?
Nah, it's right after this. He's about to when he faces Batman, the guys are behind him. Right there. Right? To the
Yep,
left?
that's him right there.
That's the
Him right
guy.
here, and we do see him standing up before when they're laughing at him. We see him
Yeah.
We see him standing up.
So it's like that shows you without them even like if you got it, you got it. If you missed it, you missed it. But like these guys were in jail for too long. They shot a missile launcher at the cops and he still got
They
out.
still
That's
got out of jail.
Gotham, man.
Yep. So back where we were, Rupert Thorne grabs the file, runs off. Harvey Dent runs. Here's your boy with the Tommy gun.
It's just wait. This kind of Batman's fault. The image in, but Batman. Like, well, no, he stops the guy from shooting Harvey, but then that
Right.
causes him to shoot the high voltage thing.
Of course.
And
And of course, it's open vats of flammable chemicals.
what are they making here?
Bomb juice? I don't know.
Where we make bomb juice.
Bomb juice.
Like, why?
Well, have it open though, just in case anything wants to land inside.
You know. So then, yeah, that gets hit. Wires go flying.
We see the live wire.
2 wires.
Now,
Chris, two.
So
Boom.
This scene is crazy because we see him laying down, and it blows up, and we see his body like.
It's so violent, and
I'm surprised it got past the censors.
I don't know how this isn't the episode that everyone is like, you have to watch if you want to. I get Hard Advice is the one, but this is crazy.
This is a bad, and when going into this, I had to stop myself from watching the second episode because when I did that the first time, it kind of got, I wasn't able to appreciate Robin's Reckoning Part 1 as much because
you jumped right into Part 2.
When we reflect back on it, I'm jumping ahead trying to put this whole story together. So when I watched this, I made sure I just watched Part 1, and Part 1 is a tragedy. It's really the tragedy of Harvey Dent, and then Part 2 is when we actually see Two-Face, because Big Bad Harvey is not Two-Face. Big Bad Harvey is something totally different.
So it's like you said earlier, it was inevitable. Whether it was going to be Two-Face or Big Bad Harv doing horrible things, maybe horrible things to himself, like his train wreck was inevitable because he wasn't getting help. Because it was only a matter of time before he did something. Man.
Right.
And then here he is, blown up. Dark Knight, straight up, Jack. This.
straight up.
And why wouldn't you? Why would you try to just
why recreate the wheel? You got something we're good. Just do it.
Yeah. Then he turns him over, and as the audience, we don't see it. We don't even see it in Batman.
Nope, This is straight up Dark Knight, man.
This is.
I didn't realize until I watched it again recently. Because I'll tell you this. So I have this season 1 in the car. So I've listened to this episode because Sebastian's been watching it. You know, kids, they watch the same thing over and over and over again. So I've listened to this episode.
He's the reason why you've been watching this over and over. I'm sure.
Yeah. He's the reason why. Yeah. But I've listened to this episode, and this is the first time in a while I've actually sat and watched it. And I'm watching. I'm like, this is just a Dark Knight. This is it. This is what Nolan saw. This is like, I'm gonna take this and make it into a movie.
It's the best version of Two-Face you can. I mean, you have to like to go against what this did is just not making a great version of Two-Face.
Right.
It's true, dude.
Rupert Thorne reads about it, and the girl's like, it's good we got rid of him. He's like, I'm not so sure about that.
Well, and that's foreshadowing, but that's also our villain not being mustache twirling. Because in other content we would have seen him laugh, smile. But Thorne's like, no.
Well, Thorne is a businessman. Thorne is he's a you're right. He's not a campy mustache twirling villain. He's a real villain. Like he's a mob boss. So he's like, look, if he's not dead, he can still be a problem. He's a realist.
And the fact that him being alive and horribly disfigured, or him dying there, is only going to make the entire freaking police department come down on you in a way you don't want. Your plan was to blackmail him and get him out of the way. You could have killed, if you wanted to kill Harvey, you could have
You
killed
could
him
have killed him.
anytime you wanted to.
Right.
He didn't want him hurt or killed because he doesn't want the freaking heat from the Bat or Gordon. It's
True.
just smart. Just keeping your
Yeah.
bad guys like realistic. I love it.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
Chris, did you peep this scene? This scene was not as we talked about the Dark Knight being inspired by this episode. Do you know what this scene was inspired by? If not, it's just a huge coincidence.
Of course. It's the 89, the Joker scene. This is the Joker scene.
Give me the mirror.
Yes.
Mirror. Oh man, I was
Of
like,
course.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fans.
Oh, so good.
And the worst doctor and nurse I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
Terrible bedside manners. You don't do, Chris, let me tell you something. If you're a doctor, you don't do that. You don't do that.
How am I supposed to feel if I'm in an accident and the doctor looks at me like that? I'm like, oh no.
Come on, B. Like, you guys are trained to see everything and have bedside manner. What are you doing? Nurse is even worse because she drops this.
She drops it like, oh, that's so funny.
That is villain. That's his super villain origin story right here.
Exactly. I was fine.
Like,
I was going to heal
I was
up.
fine.
Yeah. Then you looked at me like that. Oh man.
There is some truth to that. Because, like, what if his fiance was the first one to see him and was like, I don't care?
Yeah. He grabs the mirror.
That mirror. Here she comes.
So innocent and sweet. She comes with flowers.
This reminded me like one of those movies where she sees like her love turn to a werewolf and the moon is behind her and he's like, he's a monster now. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, and we see he's Two-Face. And she actually faints.
Oh yeah, they're all terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, no wonder we gave Two-Face. It's not Rupert Thorne's fault. It's his girl, the doctor, and the nurse.
It's like, my goodness.
Oh.
This is after hours and hours of surgery.
This is the best they could do.
What did Batman see when he turned him over?
That's a good question. We'll never know. To be continued.
Yo, this is a 10, dude. Like, okay. We had a debate a long time ago on our main thing where we do reviews on our podcast. Excuse me. The link is in the description below. And on our debates, we said like which episode. What would you give someone who's never seen any superhero content? And Chris said Batman the Animated Series, and I was like, I don't know if there's a standalone to get something drawn in. I stand corrected, Chris.
Thank
you. Can show this episode, and they'll be like, this is Batman? Like, this is how hard it goes? This is a freaking banger.
So, Lawrence. Oh, and we did I Am the Night. So this is the sixth one. So this is the second time you said that when it came to a Batman episode. You said about I Am the Night.
I'm probably going to say that more. I feel like
absolutely. Because all these stories are just so they just stand alone so strong on their own.
They do.
It's so good. This episode is a banger. You know, it's funny. So I was looking for some production notes, and the writers said that they felt that this was the first episode where they actually gelled for the first time, and they used this episode to set the tone for the rest of the series.
It feels like it's just different. I mean, there's so much just talking here and just dialogue, which should be like terrible for a cartoon.
It should be. Especially for a children's cartoon. It's not an adult cartoon. This is a children's cartoon.
After school, Chris. Fox Kids. We're sitting here watching adults talk about mental health. And we're sitting there like on the edge of our seats. This is brilliant. Brilliant. I can't wait I'm gonna wait to watch part 2 till like right before we jump in, so it's fresh. But I want to watch part 2 right now.
I totally forgot I had this. If I have it quick, I'll show it to you guys. I had actually Batman the Animated Series, Two-Face.
Do you? Oh, I did not collect enough of the animated series.
I didn't either. I don't know where I got this from, but they're super limited circulation, but it's just cool to have it.
Yeah, man. I don't need all my toys to have 50 points of articulation.
Nah,
Sometimes
I
I
don't
want
need
them to
that.
stand on
But
a
you know
shelf.
what? It stands up. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, McFarlane. Dude, this is a great episode. Please come back Saturday. We're gonna
Please.
do part 2, and like I said, hit the playlist. We have now. This is our 7th episode.
7th, yeah.
We have 7 episodes, including this, in the playlist where you can watch us just recap this amazing animated series. We also have unboxings. We also have other movie reviews and TV reviews. We have Chris going on toy hunts with his son. We have a lot of great content here. We also have a podcast. Hit the link in the description below. We talk about geek news. We debate. We have jokes, and then we do it. You can hear us give the review in a more longer form. But yeah, we got a lot of content. It's also on TikTok and Instagram. We're all over the place, Chris. We're all everywhere, man. But we'll be back here, same bat time,
same bat channel.
Boom. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. We're talking